Okay, so this assignment was about the IEP, and this is for the second EOL. I got them all mixed up, and since they were taking forever to download on YouTube, I totally forgot to do this one. So this is the IEP module. So I feel as if this is the most helpful and important module we have had yet, seeing how creating an IEP is a major part of our grade, but not even that it's just a grade that it matters, but our future. We're going to be creating a lot of these and be assisting in the process. So even though I created the BIP assignment last semester, I believe I still have a lot to learn and feel as if the information we received helped with this, because I didn't know how detailed and time-consuming an IEP actually was, and the laws and requirements we must follow, and all the information we need to gather and write on the actual IEP form. So some important takeaways I had that I feel like are the most important ones to know is parents must be notified of rights and safeguards once a year. Legally, you have to do this. And your safeguards need to be written in both the parent's language and your own language. So essentially, if a child where native language was Chinese, then you would need a Chinese translator and interpreter. So it would be in their language, and it needs to be clear and concise. You can't have all this academic language that nobody's going to understand. So these So then parents must provide written consent before you start evaluations and further along the IEP. So essentially parents play a major role in the process, because without them it is nearly impossible to begin. This kind of confused me a little, because I know we're sure to deal with parents who don't want their child to be on an IEP. So how do we go about this when ultimately the child needs to be on an individualized learning plan for success? So, and then also I was thinking about foster care is if a child was in foster care, because I do want to work in a more poor district when I first start teaching, and generally there's more family issues when it comes to these districts. So how would you go about coping with this and dealing with a foster care system? Because if that's not going to be the same guardian carrying out through the whole IEP, how do you handle that? So general requirements on the IEP that you need to state, and I found these the most important, specifically because a lot of them are in our phase 1. So statement of students' present level of academic achievement. I talked about this in one of my other EOLs, but essentially this is how students' disability affects them. You're going to need a statement of measurable and annual goals, a statement of how you'll measure the student's progress towards their annual goals. So you're going to how you're going to collect your data and stuff like that. An explanation in the reasoning if in times a child will not be working in a general education classroom with the rest of their peers. So if you're going to be putting them in a resource room for a period of the day, for instance taking away an elective, what are you going to do, and why are you doing why are you doing that, and how it's going to benefit the student, because generally you want the student to stay in the general education classroom as much as it can be. And I know we're not supposed to be using general education classroom. I learned that in one of my classes, but I forget the word we are supposed to be using. So who must be involved in the IEP process? A parent, a general education teacher, a special education teacher, a representative of the district, and an individual who can interpret. So essentially the IEP form starts with a child information page and a student information page, and this just shares the parents, information you've already collected, meeting information, IEP timelines, and then it goes on to future planning, such as goals and preferences and interests of the student and the parent, special instructional factors, such as an example of this would be, does the child have limited English proficiency? So this would be back if they do, then generally the parents have been teaching them their native language, so you would need an interpreter. Is a child blind or visually impaired? Obviously that's another factor that would play a role. So then it goes on to talk about the child's profile. So this is basically all relevant educational needs and the performance of student. And then extended school year services, which has the team determine if the ESI services are necessary. If yes, what goals determined the need. So then we're on to transition services, and this is post-secondary. And this is only going to take place if for students 14 and up. And this is going to go on for job training and what they're looking for, educational goals and they have in the future. So There are many parts to the IEP, and right now I'm mainly just focused on, obviously, phase 1, because I feel like we're going to go more in depth learning about the upcoming steps in the IEP. But I ultimately found this to be very helpful, and I like how all the information we've read about has been intentional, and it's not just like busy work. Because I know a lot of these readings can be long, but I also feel like I'm learning a lot, and I've actually made a little folder in my laptop where I'm saving these, because I feel like they'll definitely be helpful when you're actually doing this, not just for a grade, but in real life.